attention, please.
I don't know. I think I'm pro on it.
We're getting ready to get this thing underway. Okay, so if we could just kind of get some focus here a little bit. First of all, I just want to say how happy I am to see all you people here that are coming together to love and support people that are hurting during the holiday season. And you are also a glimpse of my life since my love of my life, Geraldine, transitioned 5 years ago. She was my only friend. So let that sink in for a while. If your only friend dies, what do you do? Well, if your name is Urban, you get people like you, and you tell them the sad situation you're in, and they just come together and start loving you. I have drummers here today. I've asked my drumming community friends to come because I would not be here today if it were not for drummers. Love of my life, Geraldine Elva Vinya, transitioned December 27th, 2012. But before she died, a very dramatic event occurred in my life. We had just come back from the hospital and found out that she had lymphoma, and things were not looking real good. I gathered myself up in my home office, and I was sitting at my computer, and I said, this is going to take more love than I knew how to give. Jerry died almost 4 times in 2008 and 2009. So the fact that she made it to 2012, every day was a blessing. And every day continues to be a blessing for me, having the knowledge that she was in my life and she supported me and got me prepared for the time that I would be without her. And when I was in that room, I said, universe, I said, what is it going to take to be able to love unconditionally like I have never loved before? And in that still quiet voice that I know is my God speaking to me, my God, my spirit, my universe said, you don't love yourself. I said, what? Answer again. You don't love yourself. If you want to obtain what you are seeking, you must learn to love yourself. Well, I said, that seems pretty simple. And I said out loud, I love me, myself, and I. And that day changed me as an individual, as a human being. My room was filled with light and love. And I was changed in an instant. Eventually I pull myself together and I walk into her bedroom and she's sitting there knitting. And I still relive this like the day that it happened. And she looked up at me and she dropped her knitting. And her jaw dropped and her eyes got big as saucers. And I had no idea what she was reacting to. And she looked at me and she said, what changed? I said, I learned to love myself. And that changed me as a human being, that she noticed it. It was so dramatic. And that day gave me the strength to be her sole caregiver and to be here today because I learned after 52 years to love myself. One morning I woke up and a brother was playing with my penis. And from that day on, for 52 years, I did not know what true love was. My life changed that day when I learned to love myself. And I knew that she was going to be dying. That was in the cards. That was baked in. And I said to myself, self, how are you going to survive alone? And I did not have that answer. But I had found self-love, and I had found something that had been missing in my life for 52 years. And that love of self sustained me when I was the only person standing. Now let's fast forward this a little bit, 2 months, and we're at hospice. And I'm looking at Geraldine. And she was still alert. And I just said, I was getting ready to go home and try to get some sleep. And I said, honey, I know you know the answer to this, but would you bear with me? I said, could you please say I love you? And she, of course, she said, I love you. Those were the last words I ever heard her speak. When I returned, they had medicated her so that she could transition. Imagine the person that you love, and the very last thing that they say is, I love you. I tell you that to say that I'm an incredibly blessed human being. I'm blessed by each and every one of you that are here today. And I guess I'm going to cry, but that's okay, because we're talking about love, and we're talking about surviving. In that 2-month period before we found out that she was dying and she actually transitioned, I happened to make it over, went up for a bicycle ride. And I ended up at Himmel Park. And that day the drummers were drumming like they had been drumming for decades. And I jumped off my bicycle and I began to dance. And I found a freedom. I found a freedom, and I didn't say a word that day to anybody there. I danced maybe 45 minutes, an hour. I got back on my bicycle. And on my way home, I said, Urban, when she dies and you got to start taking care of you, if you join a drum circle, you're going to be okay, because those people have a kindred spirit. And eventually, Geraldine's in that hospice. And I am blessed enough to be there when she died. I held her wrist. I saw her last breath. I felt the pulse fade. And they told me at hospice that that is indeed a very rare event. That family members will sometimes linger for weeks before someone passes on. And then they step out to get something to eat and the person dies. So even in her death, she blessed me. And we're all here, most of you are here, because somebody in your life has passed. And it has left you with a deep thing called grief. And I've asked you to come together today that we're going to all support each other. And we are going to love and allow love to flow. I did this 3 years ago and I learned something very powerful that I didn't realize. A lot of people are in situations and families where they never talk about grief and they get stuffed. If you're that person, grab somebody and tell them your story. Pull me off to the side. Reach out. The day is about love. And as part of our day, Tony Redhouse here to my left is going to lead us in music and ceremony. And he needs to leave. And then Joe's going to take over. And what I will really need some help with is at the very end, there's another band that's playing here at 4:20. I need as many people that can help us get our equipment off the stage and out of the way so that we can have the 420 people come in and do their thing. Now I asked on Facebook who else we can honor, and I've got a list of names. Because in the last 3 years, I know in my own life personally, there have been lots of people I know that lost somebody dear and precious to them. And these are but a few people. The 420 family, and they're the people that will be here after us. Okay, it's basically the hippies that are deadheads and like Grateful Dead music. And we call it the 420 family. And we've lost a lot of members. And as the 420 family member, I want to honor Michael Bigalia, John Gaddy, Thomas Shaw, Jack Rice, Dan B. Now Dan B happens to be an individual that was at the event in 2014. Dan has since went on, but Dan told me he'd lost his wife a couple years before the previous event. He walked out of here a free man. Whatever was burdening him, he left behind, and I hope we can present an atmosphere in which that may happen to some of the people today. I want to recognize from the 420 family, myself, Yvonne Hogue. We want to honor her husband, Hoagie. From the 420 family, Randy, Yvonne, and Lauren, we would like to honor someone that has graced this stage many times, Eric Garcia. Another 420 member, Molly, would like to honor her friend Anna and Ethan. Mary would like to honor Lizzie and Roberto. Lisa would like to honor Greg Skiff and Bruce Palmer. My dear friend Lee would like to honor Dave, Chip, Arlo, Tama, and Truman. Ann Emerson would like to honor Andre and Edna. Angela would like to honor Rosemary, Lydia, and Harry. Nana and Tata. Lori Carroll, my very wonderful friend. She would like to honor Dave, Scott, and Baba. My friend Lori would like to honor Marilyn, Lee, Diane, and Nanette. Dasha would like to honor her parents, Marie, Joseph, and some friends, Ann, Art, Christine, and Peter. Ginny Palmer would like to honor Bob and George. And I'd like to honor one group that's especially important to me. I want to honor a living group. I want to honor all of you who have a family member that are dealing with Alzheimer's. Because as a very dear friend told me, my mother dies a little bit every day. And we stand with you to honor, to provide love and completeness. Now, before I go any further, I would like to read something that I wrote 3 years ago, and it was a tribute to Geraldine Elva Vigna, the love of my life. Even in death, she blessed me. The last words that she spoke to me were, "I love you." She had gotten settled into the hospice, and I was heading home to rest. Right before I left, I said, "Honey, this is going to sound strange, but would you say I love you one more time?" She complied, and I left. However, upon returning, I discovered Jerry had been medicated due to breathing difficulties, which mean I would never speak to her again. But I had the knowledge of knowing those three powerful words were, "I love you." Now I want to tell you a little bit about Geraldine, why she was so special to me. She was an artist and jewelry maker, and she left me with 264 pieces of jewelry. And I took that jewelry and I went to music festivals in the first year after her death, and I gave it away one piece at a time. I carried on her legacy, and it helped me heal. I talked to probably thousands of people, listened to me, and allowed me to tell my story of sorrow. And because so many have given to me, that's why I'm here to give back. And I hope, God willing, that I will be giving back until the day that I have breath no more. I am honored by each face that I see out here. All of you have come into my life in the last 5 years post Jerry. I had no friends. I didn't know what I was going to do. Let me tell you a little bit more about Geraldine. When she died, she gave me a clean slate. I could now be whatever I wanted to be. You know, I had all this other stuff that I wanted to read and this way wonderful words to honor Geraldine. But I think I can sum it up best by saying she completed me. She was the kind of individual where I would think something and she would say it, or I would think it and she would say it. To me, that is love. Incomprehensible almost. If I had not experienced it, I would have probably doubted somebody telling me this story. I don't know what else to say, folks, except I love you from the bottom of my heart. And I want to bring up Tony. And it's really hot, and I just want to thank you all very, 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 very much. We have food over here. We were asking for a donation for the community food bank, the little box on the table there. If you can give, fine. If not, that's fine too. Jerry and I supported the food bank, and I thought it was a wonderful way to honor her. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tony. Thank you, brother.
All right, all right. All right.